Straight ahead on the county line, the results are in. The DEP knows the chemical in McClure's run, and you'll be surprised to find a local favorite that it came from.
And most people go to the Max Science Library to check out books, but see when it's a mummy being checked out instead.
And the power went out across the county. We'll bring you the latest from the storm damage, power outages caused, and the remnants of Hurricane Ike. We're live and local.
The county line starts now.
Strong winds blew in, knocking down power lines, uprooting trees, and leaving days' worth of damage of cleanup. Good evening, I'm Bill Sadler.
And I'm Scott Lawrence, but first we start tonight with fire in Newcastle. The Castle Environment Plant caught fire this afternoon.
And the county line brings you the latest.
The main concern was dealing with the vapors transferring to other parts of the city. That's why we called for a half-mile evacuation. And what we tried to do initially was disperse the vapors. We didn't actually initiate a fire attack. We tried to disperse the vapors. And then once we found out what was in the building, then we knew we had a hazmat concern too. We had a hazmat concern for the runoff going into the creek, which we have had 2 hazmat teams.
But the facility is an environmental contractor, so they do have sulfuric acid on location. Approximately 1,000 gallons is what we're told. They also have a couple other substances, ferric chloride, and some other ones that we're evaluating. The real area of immediate hazard was these businesses right around the building. And the Newcastle Police Department did a tremendous job of going up and down the roads that were affected and letting people know. We do have a shelter set up at the Scottish Rite Cathedral.
Some Lawrence County residents are still without power following the powerful windstorm Sunday. Over 5,000 Lawrence and Mercer County residents are waiting on Penn Power to restore power to their homes and businesses. Downed power lines and trees closed roads in several western Pennsylvania schools.
Now, the lights did stay on for the Westminster campus, but crews were called in to remove a decade-old evergreen tree near Old Main. The top half of the tree fell, crashing into the building, breaking some windows and blocking sidewalks. Chainsaws were needed to remove a 50-foot portion of the tree that nearly stood as tall as the building.
Titan Radio's emergency power ran out earlier today, shutting down the station's radio signal. The transmitter broadcasting Titan Radio has been running on natural gas since Sunday. Power is expected to return in the next few days. Until then, the station will be on emergency power.
The remnants of Hurricane Ike swept through western Pennsylvania last weekend, leaving behind all kinds of trouble in the area for residents to deal with. The County Line's Alex Hine takes a look at Ike's local aftermath.
Meet Lucy the goldfish. In warmer months, Lucy lives in this small pond in the backyard of Patricia Wallace's house with 3 other fishy friends. Or at least she did until last Sunday.
Well, in the strong winds, it seemed to just push the water out of our pond. And with doing that, it washed 2 of my goldfish out.
Lucy's pond mates weren't the only casualties from the 60 to 70 mile per hour winds on Sunday. Across the county, area residents were left to deal with their own damage. Brothers of the Sigma Nu fraternity at Westminster College had cleanup of their own Monday morning. A tree on their property fell to the ground, narrowly missing one person's room, but landing right on top of his car. Falling trees also caused some more major problems, blocking roads across the county. But for Dan Meyer, who lives across the street from where a tree fell on State Route 956, there are bigger issues to deal with.
Specifically in this area, we have wells and septics, so everything runs off of electric. So the electric power runs your water and your septic. So currently we don't have water.
And for some, that may be a problem for a few more days. Penn Power is dealing with the largest number of outages in decades and may not be able to completely restore power until week's end. Since Wallace's house was spared serious damage, she's already making plans in case high winds come back again.
In future, I'm sure I'll have something to cover my pond with when we're going to have heavy winds. Save the fish.
For now, Lucy and her last friend will have some more room to swim, but at the cost of an emptier pond. In Wilmington Township, I'm Alex Hines for the County Line.
The power-related problems are forcing a Mercer County-based band festival to relocate to Westminster College this Saturday. The bands were originally scheduled to perform at Mercer High School. Electrical issues at the school are to blame for the relocation. The festival features bands from Elwood City, North Allegheny, and other western Pennsylvania schools. The Westminster Titan Marching Band will also perform.
And you just heard sounds from the 29th Annual Lawrence County Band Festival held last night at Helling Stadium in Elwood City. The show featured all 8 area schools along with the Westminster Titan Marching Band. Now, if you didn't get to see it live, you can watch the replay tonight immediately following the County Line.
Westminster's oldest resident went for a trip, see how they moved the 2,300-year-old Lady Pessid. And Melissa Maines has your Titantown sports with all of your sports highlights.
And our continuing coverage of the McClure run spill, we have the results as to just how it happened. Stay tuned, there's more County Line on the way.
You saved me $11. Oh! Environmental defense. Get green. Go to getgreen.com.
So nice out here.
Yeah. I used to come out here when I was a kid. Nothing.
No, I definitely heard something.
Look! Who's that?
Let's get out of here. What are you doing? Shut the door!
Okay, okay.
He's trying to act!
He does? I say! Come on, baby!
What's that doing?
Think history is a little scary? Then log on to loc.gov and see how much fun it can be. The Library of Congress at loc.gov.
Once they've outgrown their toddler seat, they're still not ready for adult safety belts alone. 4'9" is the magic number. Until then, kids need a booster seat. Make sure your little pumpkin gets there safely. Visit boosterseat.gov.
Congratulations! You just won the grand prize in a Selective Service sweepstakes. Just for registering with Selective Service, you hit the jackpot. You can now get college loans, government jobs, and job training. All for filling out that little registration card at the post office. Men must register with Selective Service when they turn 18. Go to sss.gov or the post office.
It's the law.
Heavy rains provided the first real test of the $400,000 improvement where McClure Run flows through campus. Before the project, heavy rain would flood the creek. Now the stream is wider, allowing a gentle flow. Sediment and debris are stopped from entering the Neshannock watershed. And we now know tonight what was polluting the stream. The DEP believes propylene glycol caused the odor residents complained about. The source has been linked to New Wilmington's own Cheese House. The restaurant uses this chemical as a cooling agent and says a worker mistakenly thought the drain was connected to a water treatment system and didn't know it discharged into McClure Run.
The Volant wheel marks its return after being torn down and rebuilt. The historical Volant wheel returns as an Amish crew finally rebuilt it. It is part of the mill makeover now underway. When entering Volant, it's hard not to notice the iconic wheel guarding the town entrance. The wheel is one of the many symbols of Volant, specifically the Volant mills. But after years of deterioration from harsh winters and rotting lumber, the wheel needed attention. So the Volant Community Development Commission, or VCDC, took charge, helping to bring in the construction of a new wheel.
Well, the wheel that was up was in pretty deplorable state, and it didn't take long to knock the wheel down. It's been several months waiting to put it back up again because we had to wait for an Amish crew to free their time up.
But once the crew did find time, it took practically no time at all to build the new wheel.
It was rebuilt in one day by the Amish. We've had people standing on the bridge the whole time they were working.
While the wheel itself does not actually serve any function, The penstock below the mill could one day provide the mill's power. It was the repairing and building of this penstock that drove up the expenses of this nearly $250,000 project. But now that the wheel is back, entering the town of Volant will once again seem a little more familiar.
Well, I think people are very happy to have it back. They enjoyed watching the Amish put it together, and it is a tourist attraction for Volant because it's part of the history of Volant.
The VCDC is looking into a way to get the wheel spinning again. Once the water levels are high enough, the wheel will start spinning once again.
Charges have been dismissed against 17-year-old Joshua Stewart in the wrongful death case of Erica Jo Million. A Lawrence County judge ruled Million played a role in her own death since she bought and ingested the oxycodone on her own will. The Newcastle student died 5 days later of an overdose.
State police say they charged a teenager with aggravated assault for beating a baby. 19-year-old Daniel Lagala of Newcastle allegedly squeezed and beat the child in July when the baby was only about a month old. Lagala is in jail in lieu of $15,000 bond.
The Valley View Down racetrack and casino is out of funding. The lead investor, Contour LLC, is returning their funds since they have not been approved of a gaming license. Centaur says it's not the end of the Valley View project since they expect to talk to bankers in the next few weeks. Tonight we sit down with State Senator Bob Robbins about his recent visit to the Republican National Convention. Stick around, you won't want to miss it.
Will the owner of a spare tire
please report to the press box to retrieve your appendage? They must have lost this parking further from the stadium and walking in.
Remember, if there's ever an emergency, we meet here at the bottom of the driveway.
And I'll get the emergency disaster kit out of the kitchen.
Once we're all together, then we'll decide what to do.
But what about Fido?
What about Fido? The Lawrence County Humane Society reminds you to include your pets in your disaster planning. Make sure that your pets have identification tags that include your phone number. To find out more about how to protect your pets in a disaster, contact the Lawrence County Humane Society.
Come on! This way!
Who is that guy?
I don't know! Hurry up! He's right behind us!
I know!
Come on, get up!
407 years ago.
Think history is a little scary? Then log on to LOC.gov and see how much fun it can be. The Library of Congress at LOC.gov.
What do you got there, Dave?
Looks like someone's thunder thighs.
They must have lost them playing in the snow with their kids. Let's get back to work.
And with the political campaigns heating up, the election is nearly upon us. Our very own Jordan Emma Early sits down with Senator Bob Robbins, who attended the Republican National Convention as a representative of Pennsylvania.
Hi, I'm Jordan Early, and I'm joined here today by Pennsylvania's State Senator Bob Robbins. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jordan. It's a pleasure, and I thank you for having me.
So you just returned from the Republican National Convention.
Yes.
You were a delegate there.
Yes.
How was it being there?
Well, it's outstanding. I've been to 3 now. And, I mean, it's like the Penn State football rally or Ohio State rally. You have all the people that are active, involved, and so you just have that total enthusiasm. It always picks you up and gets you running, out the door and ready to go.
Right. What was maybe one point that John McCain made in his speech that stood out to you in a good way or a bad way?
Well, I mean, many ways, but he addressed the issues. National security and terrorism. We certainly are at war with a group of people that declared war on us. And people have to remember that, but then got into the economy, which is the #1 issue on people's minds today. And of course, the cost of fuel. And what are we going to do? And I think the best thing is we've got to go full bore on all of the issues. And people leave coal out, which, Pennsylvania, the conversion of coal to diesel and clean coal for firing our utilities. The technology is out there today that makes it better than what we're doing now. And Pennsylvania could supply the country for 100 years alone, would just transform Pennsylvania. But that's kind of been left off the discussion meter. But we have to do it all. And then we have to get into and promote the alternate fuels, whether it's solar, and I might point out it's a little difficult in this area because we're the most cloudy area in the United States, makes it difficult. But windmills, new batteries, new ways of storage, et cetera, and so that we can totally, first for national defense, remove the having to rely on outside sources of our transportation system, whatever that might be, and secondly, just to move into the new world so that for the environment, we in fact are addressing those issues, and I contend that the United States is the only country in the world that has the assets to do that.
Do you believe John McCain made the right choice in choosing Palin as his vice president?
Oh, absolutely. When I look at her resume and what she has done in her life and her family, just a phenomenal person. She has the background, and as governor, and you know, usually it's not U.S. senators that get elected into those offices, it's governors. And she has the experience, the drive, and her demeanor, the whole, you know, it's the total package.
I think also because she's a woman, it's going to reach out to women voters as well.
Well, I certainly hope so. I hope that's not the major issue, in all honesty. The issue we've got to have is what team is best situated to move this country forward into the next 10, 15, 20 years, addressing some extremely difficult issues.
Right. With the Bush administration having a negative perception, how would you advise John McCain from maybe distancing himself, even though he voted 90% of the time with the Bush policies?
Well, if you look to the other side, we all vote as a package with the team for the most part, but John McCain has a history of being the maverick. And there's times that all of us Republicans got upset at John McCain, the direction he's going. But he's a man that he listens to advisors around him. He gets informed, but then he makes his own decision, and he has no problem sticking with it. And that's the most important thing. I think world leaders want somebody that when he says something, they know that's the way it is.
Right. What are your top 3 issues you feel the next president should prioritize once elected?
Well, once is going to be number one, and particularly with the environment in the country, is the economy and energy. And they tie together. Now, I could make those easily, too, so that I have the answer and I don't have to go any further. But those are the 2 major issues. And with the energy side, the other aspect, when I said we have to totally address, we have to address the infrastructure.
Right.
And that's new refineries, nuclear power. We have to look at pipelines. You know, none of that has been done for about 30 to 50 years in this country. And that's we got to get the infrastructure going, and of course then exploring for our own resources.
All right, Senator Bob Robbins, thank you so much for being with us
thank you.
today.
It's been an honor.
Stay tuned, more County Live.
Hi everybody, this is Tim McGraw for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. You know, I spend a lot of time on the road and I see some funny things out there, but one thing that's not so funny is someone who's about to drive drunk. So take the keys and be a friend, because friends don't let friends drive drunk.
So nice out here.
Yeah, I used to come out here when I was a kid. Nothing.
No, I definitely heard something.
Look!
Who's that?
Let's get out of here! What are you doing? Stop the door!
Okay.
Turn out!
He does? I'm sorry. Come on, baby.
Think history is a little scary? Then log on to LOC.gov and see how much fun it can be. The Library of Congress at LOC.gov.
Properly inflating my tires burns less fuel and saves me money on gas. Yeah, I'm saving Mother Nature from pollution, but more importantly, she saved me $11. Ow!
Environmental defense. Get green.
By keeping my car regularly tuned, I save money on gas and repairs. That also means cleaner air. You know, feels good to help save the cash, planet.
Environmental defense. Get green. For more tips, go to getgreen.com.
Good evening, sports fans. I'm Melissa Maines, and I am glad you could join me for this week's edition of Titantown Sports. Our Titantown sports reporter, Douglas Kuntz, followed the Greyhounds to Grove City.
Greyhounds on their first possession. Handoff is going to go to Burns, and he's going to plow his way for the first TD of the game. Now on to the extra point, pretty routine stuff. Kick is going to be blocked by Grove City, and that will make the score 6-0. Greyhounds driving, and here it is, the Wagner to Wagner connection, and that catch is going to be good for the touchdown. After missing the extra point, the Greyhounds are going to go for 2. Wagner the pass, finds his tight end, Dallas Hartman, but he can't hold on to the ball. If you think the Greyhounds are done scoring, you would be mistaken. Wagner flush to his right, throws on the run. He's going to find none other than his tight end. Hartman makes a catch, takes it all the way for the touchdown. Hounds now up 22-zip. Next possession. Handoff to Burns. He's going to break 1 tackle, 2 tackle, find some green on the outside, and then he's going to be forced out of bounds. To finish off the drive, look for Sutton Whiting, number 24. Makes a nice cut to his left, breaks the plane for the touchdown. Burns again, leaps over the pile. That's another TD for him. The Greyhounds having problems with extra points. Kicker Bryce Wilson will boot this one wide right, no good. The half will end, Greyhounds 35 and Eagles 0. We pick it up later in the fourth quarter. Grove City driving, number 34 is going to juke, jive, testify. Eagles finally get on the board for the game. That Burns kid, he ain't done just. The offense opens up a big hole. Burns sees the seam, and he's going to be Zia by. And the Grove City defense would have a better chance of catching the bus than they would number 27. Final score, Eagles 7, Hounds a whopping 42. And tomorrow night, the Greyhounds are home against Oil City. Reporting, I'm Doug Kuntz for Titantown Sports.
Now on to some college ball as the Titans took on Allegheny in some miserable weather, but that didn't stop them. Long snap over the punter's head into the end zone for an Allegheny safety. Score is 2-0. Nick McCloskey scampers to the end zone for the only touchdown of the game. Titans up 6-2. WC went in for a 2-point conversion, but it was no good. Allegheny drives to the end zone. It makes it 4th and 10 with under 1 minute to go. QB throws to the end zone, but it was defended. Titans win 6-2.
60.
Moving from football to tennis, we've got the women's tennis team taking on Division II Clarion. The Lady Titans played a great game as number 3 singles player Hillary Newman won 7-6 and 6-1. Number 5 seed Natalie Hruska won 2 sets at 6-3. A comeback from the doubles pair Rachel Jack and Beth Irwin as they were down but came back 9-8. The girls fell 3-6 but will have another chance for a win when they host W&J Friday at 3:30. The WPIAL is considering having their athletic officials go through background checks before being certified. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is reporting that dozens of past and present officials since 2005 have criminal records. The PIAA will consider the proposal October 2nd. We will keep you updated on the decision. Now for all of you Titan fans out there, we have all the fall sports updates. The women's volleyball team won its first pack match of the season Wednesday night. They were on the road in a triangular match with Geneva and W&J. They won against W&J 3-2, but fell to Geneva 3-1. The women's golf will be in action this weekend at the Mercyhurst Invitational. The men's golf team played in a Penn State Barron invite today. And women's soccer suffered its first loss in the last 6 matches against Allegheny Tuesday 2-1 in overtime. And finally, men's soccer will play at home Saturday against Carnegie Mellon. We have some fantastic matchups coming up in Friday night football this week as Newcastle attempts to redeem themselves after losing their first 3 games of the season. The Red Hurricanes face off against Hopewell. Wilmington hopes to continue their undefeated streak as they host Oil City. And 2 area teams will go head-to-head as the Neshannock Lancers will get back. They will get to break in their new turf as they host Laurel Spartans for what shall be an interesting game. And congratulations to this week's SAC Player of the Week, Kevin France. This junior QB is currently ranked 4th in team history in passing yards and 2nd in pass completing and attempts. And finally, on to our extra innings portion of the show. The Steelers will be on the road to take on Philadelphia Eagles. This should be an interesting matchup as the Steelers are currently 2-0 and the Eagles are 1-1. The Browns will travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Ravens were scheduled to play in Houston, but didn't get to play because of Hurricane Ike. Maybe this could help the Browns get their first win of the season. Tune in Sunday evening to find out. And the Pens are on another run to the Stanley Cup as they started training camp Wednesday. They'll play their first exhibition game Saturday. Thanks for tuning into this week's edition of Titantown Sports. Coming up next week, I've got the SAC Player of the Week, Doug's highlights from the Wilmington Oil City game, and if you don't know anything about the sport bocce, you sure will next week. Stay tuned for more County Line.
Batteries and flashlight. Okay, you know what? That guy? Look. Okay, girls at 3 o'clock.
What is he looking at? They're looking at us. What do you think?
Oh, that's so obvious. Captain Obvious has scored again. Oh, you want to say something?
Oh, he's really gonna down.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Honey, would you get me some ice cream?
Ice cream.
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Some things you just can't do without. It happens every night, all across America.
Westminster College's 2,300-year-old mummy is now on tour at the Lawrence County Historical Society in Newcastle. Lady Pessett shrines in the spotlight as a special exhibit featuring Native American accent bearer artifacts featured from around the area.
And the mummy left in style, too, with Westminster's president as one of the pallbearers. County Line videographer Nikki Pizar revisits Pessett's grand exit.
Before it was secure like this, it had been moved from place to place. It had been decapitated at one time, and the head showed up in the bed. But our x-rays and scans show that it was never decapitated. And I do have a letter in my files from a student in the 1930s confessing to be involved in moving it around.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't see the graffiti, can you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
Once it's laying flat.
Oh, yeah. Take a picture of the underside of the lid, because it has student graffiti from the late 1800s.
Are there classes going on where I backed in between? I thought this is going to this way.
Tell him I was a pallbearer of a mummy. We're doing good things by sharing some of the treasures that the college has with other people within the community. And this is part of our mission, is to reach out to other organizations and our community in general, and to share some of the many things that the college has to offer.
6th grade classes from all over Lawrence County are getting special tours of the exhibit, but anyone can visit. Pessett at the Historical Society is visible through Tuesday through Saturday, and the mummy will return to Westminster at the end of September. Well, that does it here for the County Line for us tonight. Make sure to stay tuned next week.
And tune in Friday for an encore presentation at 7:30.
Good night.